Brother lads, welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. This is the latest Arsenal news and transfer news as well. After completing the signing of Ricardo Calafiori, Arsenal are still looking to make 4 more signings this summer. 1 in goal, 1 in midfield, and possibly 2 in attack, as we are looking to sign a striker and a backup for, Bukayo Saka. However, there is also a possibility that Arsenal could make 2 signings in midfield and then 1 in attack. We'll discuss all that in this video. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Mikel Arteta has come out and said that his squad is a little bit short in some areas and is looking to bolster the squad in those areas where he thinks that we need a little bit of energy, so probably midfield, probably attack as well. And the Athletic, of course, have said that Mikel and Edu will work on a few signings to make sure that Mikel Arteta has everything he needs as we go into the ultimate season, the season where we either win or we become official bottlers. So let's get into it. Let's start off with the ones that are really clearly on top of the agenda. And in terms of goalkeeping, we have 2 names that are really on top of the agenda. But number 1 is Dan Bentley. So Arsenal have already sent in 2 bids to Wolverhampton Wanderers to sign Dan Bentley, but none of the bids was actually accepted by Wolverhampton Wanderers. We've been told by Fabrizio that Arsenal love the player. David Onsen has also said that the goalkeeping department love the player. And there is still a big possibility that Dan Bentley will sign for Arsenal, because this is a signing that doesn't depend on outgoings. Whether Arsenal sell Ramsdale or not, Dan Bentley can be signed and Dan Bentley can be brought in. So essentially, Mikel Arteta and Inaki Keina, the goalkeeping department, are looking at Dan Bentley as a player who comes in as a third choice goalkeeper. So literally that means that if Karl Hein goes out on loan, he was our third choice goalkeeper last season. If he goes out on loan to wherever he will go, then Dan Bentley is going to be a must signing. So why I think that this one is a very likely deal as compared to the other deals that we're going to talk about on this video is Arsenal don't really need to move on many players, and Arsenal don't need to move on difficult players. If we want to move on Karl Hein on loan, there are so many clubs in the Championship, in the League 1, in League 2 that are interested in signing Karl Hein. He's a good goalkeeper, just 23 years of age. If you give him out on loan, many clubs are going to take him in the lower levels of football. And I wouldn't be surprised if a few Premier League clubs come in as well for Karl Hein. So Dan Bentley, for me, if I'm going to give it out of 10, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Now, the problem with this deal, obviously, is that Arsenal are unwilling to pay above £500,000 for the player in terms of a transfer fee. Not in terms of wages, but in terms of a transfer fee. Wolves are saying they need 1 million. If you're not giving us 1 million, we are actually not going to give you the player. So it's one where I can see Arsenal and Wolves reach a consensus and a compromise between 550,000, that is pounds, to around 800,000. I don't think Arsenal will pay $1 million for this one, but I don't think we will fail to get him simply because we are not paying $1 million. The player wants to join Arsenal. He's worked with Inaki Keina, and Arsenal, all the officials at Arsenal understand that this is a player that would be a very good player in terms of the dressing room, and his character is well appreciated at the club. So this one for me is a 7.5 out of 10. If Arsenal want him, they'll definitely get him. The only way we don't get him is if we turn elsewhere and we withdraw our interest. I don't think we're going to withdraw our interest. I think we'll try to raise our bids a little bit. If you have just signed a younger goalkeeper, 18 years of age, for 800,000 plus bonuses, I think Arsenal will go into negotiations with Wolves, very sure and very serious that they can get him. Arsenal will be confident that they can get him. So Dan Bentley is one of those that you should be keeping your eyes on. Now, in terms of goalkeeping, the wild card I'm going to throw out here is going to be Andre Lunin. So Andre Lunin is the wild card I'm going to throw out in terms of goalkeepers, because Arsenal have been tracking Lunin for quite some time, and Madrid have actually said they expect him to leave. Now, the player obviously has not agreed to leave. The player has not agreed to any other external moves. But Arsenal want Lunin. Madrid want Lunin out, as they're possibly going to sign Kepa as their second choice goalkeeper. I can see Andre Lunin become a wild card here. Now, the only way, of course, Lunin comes in at Arsenal is if we tell him that he's going to be second choice, nailed on. He's going to play some games, maybe FA Cup, maybe even Champions League. And also, if Aaron Ramsdale leaves, right? And that's why for Lunin, I would say it's like a 3 out of 10. But for Dan Bentley, it's like a 7.5 out of 10. Because for him, even if Arsenal don't lose any goalkeeper, we can still sign him. Even if Arsenal just lose our third choice goalkeeper, we will still get to sign him. So that is number 1 on the list. Number 2 on the list is Mikel Merino. And with Mikel Merino, lots of big reporters now, lots of big reports are still collaborating the story. The Arsenal are very much interested in signing Mikel Merino. And this could be a deal that follows Ricardo Calafiori closely. Now, I won't be surprised if we go for a goalkeeper next after Ricardo Calafiori, but the Mikel Merino deal is everywhere. It is absolutely, absolutely everywhere. Almost every single reporter is talking about one or two things. 1, Arsenal need a midfielder. 2, it's likely it's going to be Mikel Merino. Now, before coming on live for this one, before recording, Atletico Madrid have sent a package to reassociate for the player. They have also sent a package on personal terms for the player. He has not agreed, but those offers are on the table. So what Arsenal need to do with this one is move a little bit quicker. Of course, the likes of Team News and Ticks, the likes of Fabrizio are saying that Arsenal's interest is concrete and a deal could be struck very, very soon if Arsenal actually finish the Calafiori deal and then press on with Mikel Merino. With the Mikel Merino deal, I'm not really going to commit up to 7.5 out of 10 in terms of it happening. I'm going to say 6 out of 10. And the reason as to why I'm going to say 6 out of 10, it happens, is this. I think the Mikel Merino deal depends on a couple of things. 1, he might be a replacement, as we were told by Kaya Kainak. He might be a replacement of Emil Smith-Rowe. And that means that before Emil leaves, Mikel doesn't arrive. So Mikel Merino's deal might actually depend on how fast we can get the Emil Smith-Rowe deal. And again, it also depends on maybe what Mikel Arteta has as the plan for the future for Mikel Merino. Does he want him to be the starting left 8, or does he want Fabian Ruiz, who we'll talk about later in this video, to be the starting left 8? But either way, the Mikel Merino deal has more legs and has more authenticity than Fabian Ruiz. So this one is a 6 out of 10. It's a good deal. Arsenal have already explored everything. They have all the conditions to do this deal. 1, they have looked at the salary of the player. They have looked at the contract of the player. And they feel that a 28-year-old with 1 year left on his contract, who's going to cost less than 30 million euros, that's a much better deal than going for a player, let's say, Musiala, who could cost like 100 million, or maybe Florent Wirtz, who could cost like 120 million. So keep your eyes on the Mikel Merino deal. Most reports are saying it could be our second deal. Most reports are saying this is what Arsenal are trying to do after signing Ricardo Calafiori. Now, in terms of the wild card here, I'm going to say Eberechi Eze. And why I have Eberechi Eze as my wild card is not because I think Arsenal really are trying to sign Eze. I actually think Man City would be the first priority for Eze, and Eze would be the first priority for Man City before Arsenal. But why I think that Eze would be a wild card is Arsenal are losing an English homegrown talent in Emil Smith-Rowe, and maybe we might need to replace him with an English homegrown talent as well. And that's where Eberechi Eze comes into the picture. The reason that's why I think Eze is not as serious as Merino, I think when you think about Merino's deal, Mikel and Edu look at it as a market opportunity. Good money, good wages, and a player whose contract is running down. With Eberechi Eze, it is the complete opposite. He's got a release clause with Crystal Palace, first and foremost. That is going to take you a lot of time to negotiate that much we know. And even if it's not about that, Eberechi Eze is expensive, guys. 60 million, and you have to pay 50 million of that kind of upfront. You need to pay 50 million of that a little bit, earlier on in the deal. So I don't see Arsenal sign him, but if we don't get Mikel Merino, I won't be surprised if we hear more links around, Eberechi Eze. It won't be a surprise, and it shouldn't come to you as a shock. Now, In attack, we are linked with a couple of players, right? We are linked with a couple of players. But Victor Gyökeres is definitely one of those that we should be keeping our eyes on very closely. Charles Watts is the most reliable, source that has reported on this one recently, saying that Arsenal are looking to replace Edin Ketia with Victor Gyökeres. In attack, I'm a little bit confused, like you are, because looks like the striker market is not as interesting as it was or it was predicted to be. But also, we were told by DiMarzio that the striker market is just beginning. And maybe in the next 2-3 days, we might see a couple of changes. We might see a couple of movements on the striker market. We might see 1 or 2 players move from here and there. So I won't be surprised to see strikers trekking from one club to another. But at the moment, in terms of attackers, Arsenal's focus in the media recently has been on Victor Gyökeres. Victor Gyökeres is the one we are tracking. Victor Gyökeres is the one that Arsenal want to agree personal terms with. Victor Gyökeres is the one that Arsenal want to negotiate with Sporting to reduce on the price so that we can actually sign him. And this is a deal that solely and independently depends on the Edin Ketia deal. So if Edin Ketia doesn't join Arsenal, this guy doesn't leave Arsenal, Eddie. This guy doesn't join Arsenal as well. So that is where we are with the attackers. Now, a couple of wild cards, obviously, in this one. I think Federico Chiesa is one to think about because I don't think Arsenal will go with 2, a striker and a winger. I think Arsenal will go with 1, either a striker or a winger. And I won't be surprised if we go with a winger, and again, I won't be surprised if we go with a striker. It will depend on the market opportunities, right? Chiesa is a market opportunity. Gyökeres is a market opportunity as well. So if Arsenal can agree a deal for Chiesa, well and good. If Arsenal can agree a deal for, Gyökeres, well and good. The whole point is, can we get in a striker? Can we get in a player that can make us better in terms of the forward line? So we're looking at Victor Gyökeres in that regard. The price, we know how much they want. They want £86 million. The salary, personal terms are not a problem for Arsenal and the player. So that one could accelerate quickly if Edin Ketia leaves. At the moment, Marseille are the club trying to sign Eddie, and they're in between there. They've not really decided whether they're going to give us some concrete, money, but I reckon at some point in time, Marseille will snap, agree a deal with Arsenal, and then we'll have to see Gyökeres progressing as a deal. In terms of wingers, again, Neto is one that I would see as a player that Arsenal might look at. Pedro Neto is one that, excites me a little bit. Many clubs want him, by the way. Man United have looked at him. Newcastle have looked at him. Tottenham have looked at him as well as Arsenal. So it's not only Arsenal that are interested in him, there are a couple of other players. But this one, I think the attacker coming in depends on one attacker going out. So if Eddie leaves, we see one coming. And potentially Reece Nelson as well. If we lose Eddie and Reece Nelson, we might get 2. For me, my preference would be get 2 in attack and probably get 1 in midfield. But if Mikel feels like he needs 2 in midfield and maybe 1 in attack, that could work as well. So finally, Fabian Ruiz, right? So Fabian Ruiz has been linked recently. Obviously, the stories that linked him with Arsenal just came out. It wasn't a long time ago. And more of the reports are saying that Arsenal want Fabian Ruiz after selling Emil Smith-Rowe. So it's quite complicated. We've discussed about him coming in with Merino on the same, in the same team. And as like 28-year-olds coming in at the same time, that might not be good. But I think Fabian Ruiz is a fabulous deal. Forget the football, forget the age. It's a fabulous deal. He is a player unused at PSG. He could cost less than 30 million euros, and he is an experienced lot. He's a very, very good bloke. So we were told that Arsenal are looking to mash up the strategy this summer, try to sign some experienced players, and then try to sign some younger players. The younger players in Calafiori, potentially the younger players would come in maybe if you get Bakayoko or Nico Williams, and then the experienced players could come in the midfield. We are looking at Fabian Ruiz, 28. We're looking at Mikel Merino, 28 as well. In terms of this one happening, I didn't rate them. I didn't rate the Gyökeres deal. Gyökeres is like a 4 out of 10 for me. In terms of the Fabian Ruiz deal happening, I think I'm going to put it like at a 6 out of 10 as well. I think I'm going to put it at a 6 out of 10. And the reason as to why I'm going to put it at a 6 out of 10, it is a very cheap deal. It's a very easy deal. Like, think about it. The player is not wanted by his club. The player wants game time. Arsenal need that kind of player. And Arsenal need that kind of player on a market opportunity deal. And he is available on a market opportunity deal because we could get him on loan plus an obligation to buy. Easy. Like, you pay the money next summer. That is easy. That's a market opportunity. So personally, I won't be surprised if we get him. I won't be surprised. I'm going to put it at a 6 out of 10 in terms of chances to happen.